Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake for Team Level 5. Today, I'm going to be looking at the top 10 Pokemon coming out of Unbroken Bonds. There are some special mentions, I suppose, but most of them are either as text to make some of the Pokemon here work, or act as sort of just supporters, or just aren't quite good enough. So on the not quite good enough, we have Venomoth GX. Everything's in place for him to, after like on turn 2, start hitting for a number of turns for 210 every turn. That's pretty good. You could even slap Choice Band on and hit for 240, which is great. It hits numbers, but to do that you have to play Koga's Trap as your supporter each turn you're attacking, and that's going to be a little harder to pull off because it means you're not drawing cards other than with Pokemon that give draw. It's going to be hard to make it consistently hit hard, and so he's getting just a special mention. In our number 10 spot, we have Blastoise GX. I know you can't read it, but this is the card. I'm going to rehash what it did. I did do a full view looking at all the cards previously. Today, right now, we're just looking at like the top 10. Okay, so Blastoise. He has an ability that makes him a tank. He takes 30 less damage automatically from every attack that goes into him. So he's a tank. That means he has 270 HP unless abilities are turned off. There's not much that's going to turn off abilities for him. So there's not much that's really relevant, right? So it's good. He's a tank, right? He has a 2 energy attack that does for 2 water energies. Shuffle any amount of water energies that you have attached to your Pokemon back into your deck. I had to make sure it was attached to the Pokemon and not in hand. But so this scales really quickly. You're doing a base basically of 120 if you just choose to shuffle in the energies that's automatically attached to him. But you put him in a deck that can accelerate attachments. Obviously you're going to have Aqua Patches in the deck. You might play him with Naganadels. You could play Quagsire in there, or you could just not. And you're going to get those attachments back very quickly as long as you can facilitate getting them where they need to go to get it, to make that happen. But because of that, I think this attack can scale really well, right? If you have a couple Naganadels, you have your manual attachments for turn, you have Aqua Patches, like you're going to be able to hit big numbers with this very quickly. So, I mean, think about Blacephalon GX, who is getting a 50 multiplier from the energies off of Naganadel. Blastoise GX gets a 60. What? He has 270 HP given his ability, and if you're doing more than a single hit KO, then that goes up. If you have to hit him twice, it's effectively a 300 HP, right? So Blastoise definitely goes on here. He gets the number 10 spot though, because I had to keep shoving him down a spot based on the fact that he's a stage 2. And that means it's going to take longer to set him up, and it's just not quite what we really want. If he was basic, he'd be busted, possibly the best card in the set, but he's not. He's a stage 2. There are consistency cards that'll help get him out faster, but again, that's that, and those are going to help every deck. In our number 9 spot, yes, I'm putting this above Blastoise because it's a stage 1 and because it's going to break some of the powerhouse decks. Whimsicott GX. So Whimsicott, what do? Well, again, we have an ability. Like Blastoise, this ability can reduce the amount of damage you're taking. But unlike Blastoise, this doesn't reduce it by a specific amount. This makes it half the time just not happen. So, for instance, Blastoise going through all the effort to get, what would it take? 3, 4 energies shuffled back into hand, having to find a way to reattach those if any of them came off with Blastoise. They go shuffled back into the deck, right? Well, you flip a coin, and if you flip heads on your Whimsicott, you take no damage. None. So there are other decks that work by discarding or lost zoning energy. We talked about Blacephalon GX. We'll later today talk about Baby Blacephalon. You're making them exhaust those resources to get that set up. And then you're saying, half the time it doesn't do anything anyway. You have to find a way to get that stuff back. That's good. That's powerful. Now, the other half the time, you only got 190 HP, right? So there are going to be several means to Oko Whimsicott. That's why he's in spot number 9. He gets KO'd with 1 hit a fair amount of the time, but half of the time he doesn't take any damage at all, and that's good. What else is there to say about him? Scrolling. I did this in the other video too. I'd bump my mouse and it would go scroll crazy. So he has a single fairy energy attack. This attack hits for 10 damage. Nothing. We don't care. But you can attach any other energy you want on there and it boosts the damage. So you can put a triple colorless energy on there. It's going to bump that up to 130. Obviously you can play things like Choice Band, make that 160. But you can also attach other forms of energy. You can use Porygon Z to put extra special energies in play onto Whimsicott, and that'll make that, each extra energy you put on is going to bump that damage up further and further. You can also use Gardevoir GX, the original, the stage 2, and that'll help you accelerate energy onto here faster as well. You kind of have to pick one or the other. There's no way it's going to work well for you to run Gardevoir and Porygon Z. You'd end up doing crazy things that I don't recommend, frankly. But I think you can pull off a 1 energy acceleration Pokemon, and that's gonna make a big difference here and make these numbers actually matter. So half the time you're invulnerable, and you can hit big numbers with just a little bit of help. It's good. Gets the number 9 slot. The GX is to search for any 5 cards from your deck, put them into your hand. It's exactly the same as Metagross GX's GX, but it's on stage 1. Definitely helps out to consider the consistency of Metagross, and after rotation this will help make Whimsicott consistent as well, because you get the exact cards you want. In number 8 we have Vikavolt. Yes, just basic Vikavolt, but I'm also sort of including with this the entire evolution line for Vikavolt. So 150 HP. The ability says if there's a stadium in play, you have no weakness, so you're not weak to fighting. That's good. The attack, it's only 1 attack, but it hits for 120 for a lot of energy. Well, like I said, we're looking at the entire line here, because you're going to play the entire line. We have a Grubbin that lets you get out 2 lightning Pokemon for a single colorless energy. We have a Charjabug that lets you just attach it as an extra double lightning energy. That's an ability. Your opponent doesn't get any prize cards for that attachment, and you can reuse it with anything that shuffles back in Pokemon. Rescue Stretcher, expanded, we've got obviously the Super Rod mix, and any other kind of revival cards. So you can satisfy this 4 energy cost in like 2 turns. Like if you go, you get your Grubbin, you attach an energy, next turn you rare candy up, and then you've got your 4 energies on there. You attach another, obviously, manual attachment there. Or you just do 2 Charjabugs. You're like 0 to 60. Let's go. But it's actually 0 to 120. And 120 is not very big, right? We can use electric powers to get that higher, but then you're using one-time use items and you have to get all fancy and complicated. But the other half of this attack, the text says you can do 100 more damage if you discard the energy. Again, we just talked about ways to get that energy back. So you can really have Vikavolt hitting here for 220 pretty consistently. And you can bolster that further with electric powers and choice bands. You can have Vikavolt taking out anything you want, basically, is what it comes down to. A single prize Pokemon with no weakness. Yes, please. That is our number 7 spot. Let's keep it going. Number 6. This one's going to be a hit or a miss. I'm optimistic, but right now it seems like Zoroark Greninja Tag Team is going to have a little bit of trouble hitting its numbers right away. There are tricks you can do, especially in Expanded, to make it happen faster. Right? You can use Battle Compressor, you can get some energy in the discard, you can get some, like an Incineroar GX in the discard, and then you use the GX attack to quickly get everything back out and power up very quickly. And that can work in Expanded. We don't have anything that's that efficient in Standard. So the one combination that I see that I think will work to power this up quickly, to get the damage numbers rolling quickly, is to combine Greninja and Zoroark with Sharpedo, multiple Sharpedos in fact, which have the ability to look at your top 6 cards and attach multiple energies, you know, as an ability, plus your standard attachment. So that, if you're doing like a 4-4 line of Sharpedos on top of a couple of Greninja tag teams, you're suddenly able to get this Dark Pulse attack powered up much more quickly. I suppose I should talk about what Dark Pulse does. It starts with 30 damage for 2 energy, 1 dark, and a colorless. It jumps up by 30 more for each additional, well, for each dark energy you have in play. So really, if you've got 2 dark on here, it starts at 90, and then anything outside of that boosts it further. The GX attack, I sort of talked about. You get to get back 2 dark Pokemon from your discard directly onto your bench, skipping evolution rules, skipping straight to having a stage 2 active. And if you have a 3rd energy attached, and you get to go ahead and attach 2 energies from your discard to those Pokemon that you got back as well. So definitely some like big numbers that can come out of using the GX attack, but I don't think it's something you can start off with. I think you have to have a solution that gets you to here, and then the GX attack can like keep you there and move you a little bit further later on. Like I say, I think it has potential to hit big numbers. I think Sharpedo can help. I think it's going to do more in Expanded than it does in Standard, and that's why it's in at the number 7 spot. Number 6, we have Lucario and Melmetal GX Tag Team. So, first thing we want to talk about actually is the GX attack. A lot of times I suspect this deck is going to play this GX attack first. First thing they do, they attach an energy, play the GX attack, don't even care about the extra effect. That's because the GX attack says, for 1 colorless, for the rest of the game, your metal Pokemon will take 30 less damage. For the entire game, every metal Pokemon, if something's magically going to one-hit KO them, they have to do it hitting 30 extra damage. So that essentially gives every metal Pokemon an extra 30 HP. It's like we talked about with Blastoise, right? If it takes multiple hits to KO, then it's extending your HP and your livelihood longer than that. Plus you can do healing things and yada 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 yada. That's good. I think that's going to be the first thing metal decks do a lot of the time. The extra effect here is if you have some more energy on, if you have more than 1 energy, I guess an extra metal energy specifically, then you get to remove all energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So the reason I don't think that matters is because you want to do this early enough in the game to take advantage of the fact that, your damage is being reduced. So you don't want to wait until your opponent has a bunch of energy on to use this GX. So you probably just don't. You just GX turn 1. And then you may even, from there, remove Melmetal, Lucari Metal? You may remove him from play after that, I don't know. His other attacks are okay, right? So the first attack we have here hits for 50 and accelerates a metal energy onto Lucario Luke Metal. We'll call it Luke Metal. So 50, and then you're going to have 3 energy, then you attach another energy, and you're hitting for 150. Obviously, Choice Band can impact both those numbers. You add them together. At that point, you're hitting for a total of 260 between 2 turns, and that works. But you're 2-hit KOing anything that has more than 180 HP. So it's good, it's not great. Obviously, if you're doing Choice Bands there to make that 2-hit KO so that you can hit some tag team numbers, it means that you're not attaching your metal frying pans or goggles, so you're running the risk of actually being able to be KO'd a little bit easier than you would otherwise do. But you can also play it as a tank deck, and instead of things being reduced by 30, you reduce them by 60 by playing the respective tools. That works. Again, he's a tank. He has ways to make all of your Pokemon live longer, and then you just kind of remove him from play most of the time probably and have a better attacker going. I like it. I think you should like it. Number 6 spot, because we have some really good stuff. Number 5, Buzzwole Pheromosa GX, and this one I'm torn about this too, right? We start with Jet Punch. It's a good attack. Fewer things are weak to grass, fewer relevant Pokemon. So it's a good attack, it's not great. And the fact that we had a bunch of ways to boost fighting damage means that we don't have all those same ways. It's not as easy to boost grass damage as it is to boost fighting damage. There are still ways. Obviously Kukui and Choice Band are still 2 good ones, but it's just not as easy, not as good. Second attack, Grass Colorless, hit for 190. That's good. The clause says that next time on the following turn, the base damage here is 60. That's fine, because most of the time you're not going to hit 190 and then need to hit 190 again. You can hit 190 and 60, that's 250. You can hit 190 and 50 for the GX attack, we'll talk in a second. And that's 240. With Choice Band on either one of those, it's 270. Or you can hit, 190 and then a Choice Band and a Jet Punch, and you're hitting for a good 250 again on GX Pokemon. So I think the damage reduction there, it's a lot better to just have your base damage reduced on a big hit attack than to just, the original Buzzwole just couldn't attack at all. So we have an improvement there. The GX attack is why people will play this card, because it lets you take lots of extra prizes. If you kill something, if you knock out something with a single grass energy for the GX attack, then you get to take not whatever prize numbers it calls for, you get to take an extra prize. So if you knock out a single prize Pokemon with that GX, you take 2 prizes. Knock out a normal GX, you take 3 prizes. Knock out a tag team, you take 4 prizes. But it gets better in that if you have 7 extra energies on it, that sounds like a lot, I know. But bear with me. If you have 7 extra energies, you get 3 extra prize cards. That means if you knock out a single prize Pokemon, you suddenly get 4 prizes for that knockout. A standard 2 prize KO on a GX, you get 5 prizes. And a KO on another opposing tag team, you get 6 prizes and win the game instantly. So what does this look like? Basically what this looks like is you do some initial damage around to make it so that you're set up for being able to take a KO with that GX attack. Then your opponent, while you're setting things up, comes in, KOs your Buzzwole Pheromosa. Okay? Then you go, haha, I've got multiple beast strings in hand. Boom, boom, boom. My other on the bench Buzzwole Pheromosa now has 8 energy on it. I'm going to GX attack you and I'm going to wipe you out and just win. So yeah, it's a powerful card. Unfortunately, it's weak to fire, which means it's going to get its face smashed in by some of the other powerful cards in the set. And fire just has more support than grass right now. So, powerful card in general, but fire's already good with just Blacephalon GX, and it gets a lot better in this set. And that's going to make Buzzwole Pheromosa only be in our number 5 spot. Next, we see a fire Pokemon. Number 4 spot goes to Reshiram and Charizard GX. I want to call it Charizard and Reshiram, but I have failed at that. You'll notice we actually have an image here that is in English, so I'm not going to have to reference the text behind the card. So first attack, Outrage, does 30 damage if you're fully healthy, and then 10 more damage for each damage counter on Charizard and Reshiram, hitting for up to 30 plus 260, because it's 270, Charizard's gone. So that would be 290 for fire and a colorless. That's pretty good. We have Flare Strike for 2 additional fire, total of 3 fire and 1 colorless. You hit for 230 damage as your base. That's a big number, that's a big hit. Choice Band, slap Choice Band on there, you're KOing almost everything. Not Wailord. I think just not Wailord, right? Yeah, you technically wouldn't, well no, there you wouldn't KO another Charizard with just a Choice Band. You wouldn't KO any of the 270 HPs that we're seeing. But still, like, yay, good. There are other things that can boost that damage a little bit further, obviously. But what it comes down to is that's a big hit. And the energy cost looks like it's big, but it's not. Okay. GX attack, Double Blaze. 3 fire energy, you do 200 damage. Well, that's in some ways better than 230 for 4 energy, because it's really close to 230, and it's only 3 energy. And I think that it'll get used for that sometimes. If 200 is a big enough number, or if 230 is a big enough number, and you can attach a Choice Band, then you'll use Double Blaze GX before you use Flare Strike. But in other instances, you will use Flare Strike first, take a knockout, then you use Double Blaze GX with extra energy. Again, we'll touch on really briefly how you get the extra energy to hit for 300 and get another knockout, and that knockout will KO anything. So, obviously, the energy costs here are the one thing that make it a little iffy. But we have a supporter coming out for Fire decks that says, hey, here's some energy. That supporter is Welder. It lets you attach 2 extra fire energy from hand during your turn, plus your standard attachment, so you can attach 3 fire energy on a single turn. We have a bunch of trainer cards that get fire energy into your hand from either your discard and or your deck. And yeah, it's not that hard to do. You get big numbers, you get energy on there quick. We also have some Pokemon that will attach extra energy as, attacks and abilities. So it's good. Rainbow Energy would contribute to any of this as well if you wanted to use Porygon Z, but that's probably not the best idea. So, number 4 spot, nice and solid, going to Reshiram and Charizard GX. Number 3 spot, a Pokemon in the same family, the same vein, there for the same reasons, can hit hard, Big numbers do good things. Baby Blacephalon, a single prize attacker who only has 120 HP, but he only gives up one prize. What does he do? Well, for 1 fire energy, he's hitting for 10 and turning one of your prize cards face up. If it happens that that prize card is a fire energy, he then hits for 60 more. It's not horrible, it's not great. The card wouldn't rank based on this attack. However, the second attack for 3 fire energy, and we just talked about how you get 3 fire energy on like pretty regularly, right? You hit for 50 times the number of energies that you discard from your hand. In my testing, Blacephalon can pretty easily hit for 250 on its second attacking turn. The consistency has it hurts me. It's that good. So, single prize attacker being able to hit for 250 and take big KOs. Occasionally you can hit for 300 if you need to. Yeah, gotta be the number 3 spot. And the only reason that he's not higher is it's a single deck here. Because in the number 2 spot we have the Dedenne GX. Dedenne is a card everyone's gonna want. It's gonna be played in lots of decks. The attacks are stupid and not worth talking about. 50 damage with a GX attack that will return it to your hand. And paralyze your opponent? Yeah. So, in fact, if you're ever attacking with Dedenne, it's probably to use the GX attack, unless you've got like an insane combination of electric powers. But the ability is awesome and will improve consistency for nearly every deck that can play him. As an ability, when you bench Dedenne from hand, you get to discard your entire hand and draw 6 cards. So you can only use it once per turn, like 1 Dedenne per turn. But oh my goodness, Shaman was borderline busted, just letting you draw up to 6. Shaman saw so much play, Shaman EX. Well, Dedenne says, Shaman, you didn't know what was up, let me show you. We do have a fighting weakness and a low HP, just as any of these sort of tech Pokemon tend to have. But it lets you speed through your deck, lets you get where you need to go, and that is good. It's going to improve so many decks. It's going to be necessary in a lot of decks once we lose some of our better cards. We'll need that consistency boost, so it'll see play. It's great. So that's number 2 spot, just because it's going to be used so much. Number 1 spot is here because it's like a broken deck combination when you can get it off, and I think you can get it off frequently. It's a Pokemon that, with all the support that we're getting in this set for it, just shuts your opponent out of the game. I don't think it should be. I don't think it should exist. I think that it should be at best like have some kind of a follow-up to update and decrease the power here. Once we lose DCE, it'll be a little bit better, but even triple colorless energy that gets discarded will still enable the broken effects to be a thing. So what are those broken effects? Well, number 1, your opponent, as long as you have Honchkrow in the active, your opponent cannot play any special energies. They can't play any stadiums. They can't play any tools. You don't have to use a specific attack for that controlling effect either. He just has to be in the active. That's it. Oh, and by the way, Guzman's getting rotated. So ways to get your opponent, forcing them to have a different Pokemon in the active, are going to go down. So that's bad enough, right? But that wouldn't make the card busted. We have an item card that lets you evolve straight from Murkrow immediately on the turn that you play down the Murkrow, or the turn that, like, your first turn of the game where you start Murkrow as your starter, right? Lets you evolve straight into Honchkrow GX. So there's no waiting for evolution here. You're just going, hey, here's a Murkrow, here's the item, let's go. I've got my Honchkrow GX, my opponent can't do any of the things we just talked about. That'd still make it a good card, but not broken, right? Well, then we get to the attacks, right? First attack for Dark Energy, 2 colorless. We're gonna hit 90, and additionally we will do 30 damage to 2 different Pokemon GX or EX that our opponent has out. Pretty good. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about they have to be benched Pokemon, so it could be 90 to the active plus 30 to the active and 30 to a different one. It does not say that you can target the same Pokemon twice with that, so it does read that you have to target 2 separate Pokemon. If they only have 1 GX out, you're only getting 1 effect there. Good attack with the denial stuff. It's a little bit stronger. But we have a lot of Pokemon that attack for basic energy now. Wouldn't be that good with just that. But here's the thing. The GX attack is literally titled Unfair GX, because this is an unfair card. You can get it out and attack with it on your first turn going second, and the GX attack just says, poof, I'm discarding 2 of your cards. Best 2 cards in your hand, ones that'll help you the most, are gone now. That seems pretty harsh, but okay. You still have, if you had 6 cards in hand, you still have 4 to choose from, right? Maybe you can handle this. Well, my friends, there's more to the story. Because what do you think we're gonna see happen here with Honchkrow before they play this GX attack? Before they play it, they are going to play Marshadow Let Loose and reduce your hand down to 4 cards. So you're left with 2 cards in hand. And they're your worst 2 cards, the most useless cards that you had out of those 4. The other 2 don't go back into your deck even. They get discarded, never to be seen again. Yeah, that's pretty bad. You know what's worse? They're also printing an item to help out Honchkrow here. Item, the Pickaxe item card, and it lets them look at the top 3 cards of your deck after that Marshadow. Okay. What then? Well, it lets them pick which one of those 3 is the worst one and make that your top deck. And then the other 2 get randomly shuffled back in. Did I say it's an item? It's an item. So that means they can do it again next turn. So make sure you only have 2 worthless cards. Then they say you're going to top deck some junk. Then they say, and then you're going to top deck some more junk. And then they say, you're going to top deck some more junk. And then they say, you're going to top deck some more junk. 4 turns of top decking nothing. Now, to make this combo happen, they'd have to have a perfect hand. Or they have to get some insane draw going, right? Well, we already talked about the Dene GX. They're probably playing a few of those. But the item that lets you lets them evolve from Murkrow up to Honchkrow. Yeah, that item doesn't just affect Murkrow and Honchkrow. It also affects a new Pokemon we're getting, Mismagius. It lets Mismagius come into play the first turn that the basics played. And what does Mismagius do? Mismagius says, okay, you can KO me. And then you draw up until you have 7 cards in hand. And you can do that multiple times. So Honchkrow can probably get through like half their deck. And they give you a couple prize cards while they're doing it. But what good is it to draw a couple prize cards and then dead draw for 4 turns in a row while your opponent can do whatever the heck they want? I don't think it does much good for you. You're locked out of the game. I really feel like this card is gonna be banned, or at the very least have some heavy alterations and rules applied to it. And I don't just think it, I think it, but I also just through and through hope that that's what happens. Because Honchkrow is not just good, it's busted unfair good. And it makes it so that your opponent can't even play the game as long as you can pull off the combos. So what remains to be seen is how consistently decks can pull off the combos, but it does not seem like a combination that is overly difficult to do given all the support that they have. So that's our number 1 card. It's kind of number 1 enemy as far as I'm concerned, but there it is. And one thing though, it's going to keep making lightning Pokemon relevant, even though fighting weakness is a thing and there's better fighting support coming. Honchkrow says, yeah, you still need the lightning though. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video. There is a corollary video that I've done. I'm not sure which is coming out first, this one or that one, but they'll both be out this week. And they're going to touch on, that one goes through the entire set, explains kind of my thoughts on every card. As you noticed here, I tend to talk too much. That one's a really, really long video, which is why I wanted to do a slightly shorter video here, looking at just the top cards of the set. Go ahead now, wrap up. This is Jeffrey, JJB146 Blake, Team Level 5, signing off.